Welcome to Le Wimlex Show, episode number 35, presented by Bright Payment Group in Stockholm, a debt agency based in Amsterdam. Of course, is a leading e-commerce solution, Spryker. Today, we are hosting Markus from Carl Dagg. It's a very interesting new brand in the umbrella market. Actually, it's the first new brand in the umbrella market since like 50 years. Some guys from Stockholm reinventing the umbrella, premium umbrella. It's a very, very interesting story. And Lena brought them to our Stockholm office. So Lena, what was the most surprising thing you've learned about Carl Dagg today?
Probably the repurchase frequency that they mentioned. Having such an expensive accessory, you'd think you'd only buy it once for a really long time, but apparently they have quite loyal customers. So that was interesting to see that they've managed to do that.
Yeah, that's true. That's really interesting. But we let it to Markus to explain the whole story. Have fun with the podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Le Wimlex Show, hosted in Stockholm, Sweden today. We have a special guest, a company that is very focused on one particular product, but doing it at a great scale of excellence, I'd like to think. Welcome, Carl Dagg, represented by Markus today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. With me, we have Alexander here today as a co-host. So we are a magical duo together with Markus here today. Markus, do you want to say a few words about yourself and about Carl Dagg?
Well, yes, sure. So basically, I have my roots from the finance/banking industry, and that's where I started, and I loved it. But eventually, I became more and more interested in things that has more to do with creative things and creativity and sort of higher degree of freedom. Mm-hmm. And one route for that is basically doing something on your own instead of working at a big bank. In my case. And fortunate for me, I found a few people that sort of shared the same dream and the sort of same visions. And we started out 7-8 years ago with some different things. And one of the things that we ended up with was sort of founding Carl Dagg, Carl Dagg Stockholm.
And what is Carl Dagg?
Yes.
Tell our listeners.
So Carl Dagg, we make umbrellas. And we are certainly not the first company ever that has come up with that idea, but we have some twists to it as well. Mm-hmm. So just no one is leaving this podcast right away. And basically what we do, we are doing premium umbrellas that are crafted in Sweden, and we have a kind of a different approach in comparison to other umbrella manufacturers in terms of branding and in terms of online experience, purchase experience, and also I think how we focus on customers and so forth. So, but to make a long story short, how we come up with the idea. If you just interrupt me if I'm sort of losing.
We will.
Losing the thread here. So basically, we had this meeting in a big conference room with big windows. Could view the streets of Stockholm in this case, and all of a sudden the rain just started pouring down. And people got completely freaked out and started reaching for their umbrellas. And that's when it struck us the first time. We looked at like hundreds of people, well-dressed, really sharp people running around with these really like awful, small, shaky umbrellas with like real estate logos on them and so forth. And it like made no sense, right? They were dressed up from tip to toe. Everything was so right in so many ways, but then all of a sudden it started raining, which it does in many countries, like almost every day, and everyone was totally surprised and brought up this really ugly rain protection product. And then we started talking about this, like, okay, maybe this is just a coincidence this time that there are so many ugly umbrellas at the same place. But then we started like, yeah, what does your umbrella look like and so forth. And we got a bit interested. We screened the market, the physical market in Stockholm, and found absolutely nothing. We thought it was a bit strange. We went online, and then we got really scared, basically, because it felt like those few online platforms or websites that sold umbrellas looked like they were like 15 years old or something. And all of the umbrellas were, they were presented to the customer in a very obsolete and boring and dull way. Like, here is a protection, here's a windshield or something. You know, it's not even an accessory. And then we really started thinking about this. Like, hey, here is something. Here's a gap in the market. It makes no sense that the umbrellas should look this way. And also from a throwaway society angle, how long can this last? Why would, you know, a piece of an umbrella that you really need in so many different situations, why is it okay to buy that sort of product and just throw it down the garbage bin when it, you know, if it breaks, which it does all the time. And so we started talking about this, and then I together with my colleagues, we contacted two guys that were designers at this called Konstfack. It's a University of Arts, Crafts and Design or something in Stockholm. And they came from a completely different angle, because they were not from the business angle, they were from the design angle, but they really agreed, like, yeah, why is it by this, you know, really simple product, everyone knows what it is, why does it look like this these days? It used to look, you know, quite nice 50 years ago, but now it looks like rubbish. And they started sort of designing our first umbrella, which eventually became then the first series that we did, and that was sort of the background.
So you're trying to establish umbrellas as a fashion accessory at the same time?
Exactly. So it's a functional fashion accessory instead of a functional rain protection. So it's a quite big difference, and that's what we are trying to do. And we will basically, I think we will come into that later on, but that's a huge challenge for us in changing the mindset of thinking about what is really an umbrella and why is it an accessory and not just a function.
When you started out with this, was the idea to build this into a full-time occupation, or was it something you did at the side?
I think it's a difficult question to answer, because some part of you always wants to do something, or at least from my point of view, to do something big and to really, you know, be a part of sort of a game changer. But on the other hand, you might think that some of the things you're just doing it for fun, because it's really cool to start a new company and to, you know, just start from nothing, from scratch, from a white piece of paper, and just all the things that comes with that. So I think that for me, but I think it's a slight difference between the different founders as such. But for me, I always had a dream about a scalable product, and I sincerely thought that an umbrella could be a scalable product to go online with worldwide. So yeah.
And you guys ship worldwide today?
Yes, we do. We ship worldwide, and the US is actually our largest market. So on the online side, 50 to 60% of all our revenue comes from the Northern America. So it's both Canada and US.
Maybe you can say a few things about the product. We were actually filming, so we could have shown it today.
Yeah, but I can implement the website picture in the film. That's no problem at all, and we can do that. Yeah, and and you got me with your point. There are guys nicely dressed with umbrellas with real estate logos. That's me. Definitely. So I would be really interested. So what the like USP is? I understand the story. So I understand like your market. Your market vertical. I think I don't even remember if I know a brand of umbrellas. I think I know Knirps, which is like the
it's a German.
I think it's a German
compact
one. Yeah?
Umbrellas, yeah.
Compact umbrellas, which is like the tempo for umbrellas in Germany. But I would be really interesting in like price points, USP. Is there a smart umbrella connected to the smartphone?
First of all, that's a brilliant point of yours, and something that I actually forgot to say, that that was also one of the first things we discussed. Like, so what are the other brands like, and we tried to come up with like, do we know any umbrella brands? And then we said no, but it's likely just a coincidence. So we started talking to friends and stuff, and we ended up with like, how is it possible? Like there are, billions of a certain product in the world. I mean, everyone knows brands in terms of everything, like zippers. You can mention a brand, but you cannot mention a brand on the umbrella. That's something that's really strange. Sure. So that was also one thing that said that there is a big sort of room, or there's a lot of room for coming in from a more sort of branded angle. And that is, if I say so, one of the unique selling points. That it is actually a brand and something that you hopefully can relate to. We have this, it's a very traditional Scandinavian design heritage. our story and our materials and the way we are producing our umbrellas in the last remaining umbrella factory in Northern Europe, actually, in Sweden. So it's sort of it's really about that sort of brand and feeling about the product.
That's true. It's the last factory.
The last remaining
factory.
It's
the last European umbrella. So that's a cool tagline.
Yeah,
in Northern
Europe, and the guys that are running it is they're like third or fourth generation umbrella manufacturers, and we are doing this together with them, and it's really, really cool. And of course, I mean, to some people, that is also something that is important, that this is really made with love, and it's really, it means something to these guys. It's not something that they're just throwing out there, and I think that people like that, and in terms of the umbrella, of course, it's it's in walnut wood, and the cotton linen sort of canopies is fantastic, in the Swedish leather from local farms on an island called Öland in Sweden and so forth. So every sort of piece of the umbrella has a story as such, and if you're interested in those sort of things, like we were, and especially Carl and Carl, who are the designers that I mentioned previously, like it was extremely important for us that every part of the umbrella must have a story, it must have a sort of a depth, and it's not something that you just pull together. It's something that and that's also why it took 16 months to make the first series. We thought it would take like 2 or 3 months, right, to get all the material and start manufacturing these, but it took 16 months, so it was a really long, it was a long journey. Coming back. Yeah, sorry.
But the only thing I understood so far is that, like, instead of the real estate logo, there's now the Carl Dagg take on it.
Yeah.
Is there like a meaning for behind the name for German listeners?
Yeah, well, so Carl is actually the name of the two designers, and also my name is Carl as well, which is also, of course, just a coincidence. In terms of Dagg, it means it's a Swedish word for like a dew in English. It's like what you can have in the morning. You have dew on the grass or on leaves. And so
okay.
It's a really nice. It's a really nice word, we think, and it's also, well, it's four letters, and the logo, the C and D, you can sort of, it adds up, and we sort of like that brand. But coming back to your question, from a customer perspective, why should I buy it? You can always think about the functional angle. So it's very robust. It's much bigger than a normal umbrella. It looks much better, of course, because it's better material and so forth. And so you have all those functional parts, and some customers are interested in that. But not everyone, but some are. Some are more interested in, so where are these manufacturers? How can we make sure that these are genuine materials, whatever it might be? Other people cares more about the sort of the design elements, like how does it look? It's not that important what sort of material it is. It's just like, how does it look? So it's different angles for different customers, but still, and maybe we will get back to that, there are some umbrella nerds in the world, and of course those are the ones that are easiest to sort of talk to and that can relate to us. But we think that is, it should be a much broader crowd, really. That should be, it could be something for everyone here to sort of to put a nice umbrella into your wardrobe, basically, because it's.
What is the price for a standard umbrella?
Well, so it's the original series that we have is like 1,300 Swedish, which is roughly 130 euros. Then we do some limited series that are a bit more expensive, and just I don't know if this is interesting for anyone, but it seems like if you're going into the premium/luxury market that we are, customers don't care if it costs 130, 160 and 120 if they want it. It's more important the price. I mean, we have tried, in the beginning also we tried with some sales, things that we did, and we tried to lower the price, I don't know, on some product, and but it's really not the biggest driver. The biggest driver is sort of creating the desire of having this umbrella by your side or in the skies.
And before Carl Dagg, so I got the price thing, like for a guy who's getting like the free umbrellas with the real estate logo on it. It seems incredibly expensive, but it's like hopefully a durable, sustainable product. But before Carl Dagg, there was no premium umbrella available in high fashion stores. whatever?
More or less not. So there are a few European, especially UK manufacturers, and I can sincerely say that they are extremely good in what they're doing, but they are very old-fashioned. It's very traditional. It doesn't rhyme very well with the urban, the urban like culture and where we are right now in 2020. So it's very old school. It's very posh. And I mean, they have been doing their umbrellas, especially in UK, since the 1800s, 1900th century, and they're doing it very well. But what we were missing was this sort of premium / luxury, a more modern umbrella. And in Sweden, if you wanted to buy a premium umbrella prior to Carl Dagg, you had to go to the UK or buy it from a very obsolete online platform where you had to pay like £50 for getting it here. So that's also one thing that we might come back to. But like, it has to be really easy for the customer. The online experience, it must be just 2 clicks away. You cannot have all these sort of hidden fees or that you should pay for shipping and so forth, because then you take a lot of the purchase experience away. And also you start thinking like, what am I really paying for here? And that was also sort of the big thresholds in buying an umbrella, in Sweden at least, or in Scandinavia. So, more or less nothing, except these old school UK manufacturers that are doing what they've been doing for centuries.
And maybe one question for the target group left. So, like your initial moment when you started to think about the idea, like with a room with hundreds of people, running around with bad umbrellas with real estate logos. In this room, how many people would buy a Carl Dagg product?
Yeah, so there are some data on this and some statistics. And there was this big survey in the US made by an insurance company. And they came up with that 11% of all the people in the US are buying a new umbrella each year. So that's sort of some sort of benchmark or bottom line figure for starting to looking at how big is the market. But you could say that of all umbrellas that are bought, is roughly 1 to 2% of them are in the premium segment. That's the estimations that we have done. So then you can sort of make the math. So it's 1 to 2% of 11%.
I'm just thinking about the whole time. When was the last time I bought an umbrella? And I can remember like one deal I did, I think 10 years ago at like eBay. There was like a so-called a B quality assortment, and then I bought like 20 umbrellas for €1 each. It was a really good deal. But like in our household, it's like you have like 2 umbrellas thrown in the trunk of the car, 2 umbrellas in the garage, in the corner, like 1 umbrella at the kindergarten, and actually, if you forget it, you don't care. Just take the next one. So it's a totally different use of a product compared to what you're describing.
Definitely. But that's the thing. Like if a handbag for a woman would cost $1, she would probably lose it everywhere as well. But if you buy a Louis Vuitton handbag, you know where it is at all times. And the same goes for our umbrellas. Actually, this was one of the first sort of things that we heard when we started briefing this idea with friends. Like, are you crazy? This sort of price tag, it will never work because, people will lose it all the time. But the funny thing is that our customers don't lose their umbrellas. It's very rare that people get back to us saying, I have to buy a new one because I just lost it. Because it's something really nice, it's something you hold dear, and it's something that you have invested in. And then if it's an umbrella or if it's a, whatever it is, a coffee mug, if this coffee mug would cost a lot of money and it would be mine, I would know where it was basically, and that's just I think how the human brain works, I guess. But of course, if you buy like 20 umbrellas for €1 or €1 each, then you will likely lose them in a month.
Alex is not in the target group. I think
I'm not sure. 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But now,
maybe
if my wife is like asking me like for birthday and Christmas present, that would definitely be something on the list. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, think about it. Now we've been talking about. Think about like if you have cufflinks, or if you have a scarf or whatever. Would you have a scarf with a local real estate broker saying Skandia-mäklarna, or a cufflink where it said Biltema? I mean, it's absurd. No one would say, like, no, but that's not the same thing. It's exactly the same thing.
If you view it as an accessory.
If you view it as an accessory. Yeah. But then there's a long story that it used to be an accessory for I don't know, hundreds of years or so, or 100 years or 80 years or whatever. But then China came and all these low production cost countries started, doing these umbrellas at a very cheap cost, at a very poor quality, and funded it by making them as market pillars, like started branding them with different brands, and that has been sort of the how the business and the market has evolved for many years. So the biggest challenge for us is the mindset. Like, why should I pay 130 euros for something that I can get for free or buy for €1 at eBay?
But let's say that you've achieved that, because I'm sure there are people, exactly as you say, who view umbrellas as accessories. I would imagine that you would, in that segment then, or in that target group, you would also compete with the high fashion labels who also offer umbrellas. I mean, you can get Burberry umbrellas, you can get MS umbrellas, and then your price point, I would say, is comparatively low, because those umbrellas can be 200-300 euros instead, and of course they come with a desirable brand.
Is there umbrellas from Hermes?
Yes.
Yes? I didn't know that, so obviously Lena would know.
I do.
But also, even those umbrellas, most of them at least, and I will not talk badly about competition.
Because it's a free podcast.
Okay, then now I will tell you the truth about the competition. No. But the thing is that most of these so-called high-end umbrellas that you buy, they're actually bought off the shelf from China as well, and they're just screen printed with whatever it might be. So we have like Swedish, Scandinavian sort of high-end design brands that are doing this, and we know exactly where they're buying it from and so forth. So it's not really the same thing, but of course you need to be a bit more interested in it, or we have to be better of sort of conveying this message to the customers. That is actually a big difference, but that's hard because you don't really want to compare yourself with other manufacturers and brands, because then you go into some sort of guerrilla war, which is I don't think is beneficial for anyone, and we have chosen not to do that. So we are never comparing our products with others, but if we were to do that, it would be quite clear that our product is quite superior to many of the other brands you just mentioned.
It's quality that would set you apart.
Definitely.
From the
craftsmanship part of it. So it goes from that you have people actually designing it from scratch, from a white piece of paper. You have people working with the umbrellas, assembling them in a small workshop up in the woods in Dalarna. All of those things, you will obviously create a different product. So it's quite an interesting company we have here. We have a very old school product, but I think a quite new way of thinking about how to get it out in the world. Our sort of thinking around online, how we, I don't know if you have seen like the media we have, but how we, all the images, the pictures that we're using, the words that we're using, and also of course the purchase experience. One thing why you would never buy a Carl Dagg maybe for 130 euros is that when you think about buying an umbrella in a store, you will normally find it in a black plastic bin in front of the desk or the cashier. If you were to take a really expensive shirt and throw it down that bin, would you buy that shirt? No, you wouldn't, because you expect to find a shirt there on the wooden, shelves, lighted and everything, with nice hang tags and everything. That's obvious. But in terms of umbrellas, for some reason you just stuck it, you just throw it down in this bin or whatever it is. And of course from why would that create a desire to buy something? So it's also about that. The presentation is half. I mean, I think it's even sometimes I wonder what's the biggest part of Carl Dagg. Is it really the product, or is it the way we present the product? The boxes. There are no umbrella manufacturers sort of selling their umbrellas in boxes like we do, for instance, with hang tags and all that stuff. And that's really important, and one thing that we think will help change the attitude towards the product.
So speaking of presentation then and sales, how do you sell actually? You have an online shop, obviously.
Yeah. Exactly. So we have roughly 10 physical retailers. A majority of them are in Sweden and in Stockholm, where we are quite well established, and in Gothenburg. And then we have 2 in Northern America and a few in continental Europe. However, that is something that we really need to pay a lot more attention to and to invest a bit more in, because they are very important market pillars. and credibility pillars. So if you want to, I mean, of course, if we were to choose, we would like to sell everything online. I mean, it's about cutting the middleman. You get completely different volumes. You own the customer relationship. If you go out to retailer, they own the customer. I mean, we cannot do anything with that. They can, I mean, if we sell things online, we can invest in ads and people will come to our shop. I mean, we cannot do anything about what people and how many people should come into a certain department store, but they are important from a marketing perspective and from a credibility perspective.
So for brand building mostly? Mostly
for brand building. And we like to, of course, expand that business also, but it's really hard because they take 60 to 70% of all the revenue. And if you have, like we do, a very expensive production, that's just how it is with the
in
Europe
that we have comparatively small numbers, at least to other
exactly. So we lose money if we were to sell umbrellas at Bloomingdale's, we would definitely lose money for every umbrella that we sold, and that's just a harsh reality right now that we have to just deal with. But on the other hand, the margins on the online side is quite good.
So for the Swedish market, I know that, or I think I know that you can actually buy Carl Dagg umbrellas at NK.
Yes.
In Stockholm, the largest department store.
It's the largest and most sort of famous, I think, department store in Sweden.
And that's actually not a profitable channel for you guys. It's purely for brand building exposure.
That's a plus minus deal. So it depends on the size. So if you have a NK or NK, that's really sort of plus minus zero. But if you have like smaller retailers, you could definitely make a few percents. But it's also a lot of work working with these retailers. It's not just that you ship them 50 umbrellas or so. It's a lot of things that come with it in terms of, legal stuff. They might want you to be part of different marketing drives and whatever it might be. So you have to invest in that as well. But what I'm saying is that if we were to close a big deal with a big, store like, I don't know, say Bloomingdale's, that's the first one I can come up with, then we would definitely lose money on that.
It's like a mid-range, like pricing and target group wise, retailer like Karstadt Kaufhof, for example, in Germany, the big box retailers. Are those interesting customers for you, like wholesale customers?
It would be like an Orleans, I think, in Sweden, by comparison. So not quite as premium as maybe NK.
Well, but when I think about like the product category, like in smaller towns or like even in bigger towns, I would say if people wanted to buy an umbrella, they would look for it at such a store like Kaufhof or Karstadt. And of course they have like, there's no MS in the store, but they are really expensive brands when it comes to baggage brands like Remover, for example, is like there as a brand which could be the same pricing target group you are aiming for. Somebody who's paying like €400 for a Remover bag probably would pay like €100 for an umbrella.
That could definitely be an alternative. But there is some alternative cost to everything. Like if you invest in a relationship with a retailer, you sacrifice something else. I mean, you can't do all things at the same time. And the problem is that if you send away like 50 umbrellas to this Åhléns or whatever it might be, and they sell those umbrellas during a course of 3 months, whatever, 6 months, you cannot do anything with that. More than ship them more umbrellas. If you sell 50 umbrellas online, you have tons of statistics, things that you can build on. You have relationship, customer emails, telephone numbers, and so forth. You're not just a part of a sort of a value chain. You are the value chain, and that's why we have chosen to invest more or less all time and money into the online sales and the platform that we have, and especially ads, which is driving sort of traffic onto our site. But of course, if we would have like more time and more money, it would definitely be a potential route to go with more sort of mid-segment retailers.
That's a super interesting example because one podcast we also recorded today, and the listeners will have the chance to hear it 2 weeks from now when this podcast aired. We used the example of 24MX, like a motocross retailer, for the question, okay, how sustainable is a business? Because e-commerce and digital in general, businesses are usually only sustainable if you're able to attract the customers for your website on a monthly basis, let's say, or 5 to 6 times a year. And you've explained if there's numbers from the US, 10-11% are buying an umbrella. That for me, that sounds like let's assume everybody needs an umbrella. It's something people will buy with once in 5 years to 8 years, which makes the frequency question coming back really hard in this podcast here. What do you do actually with the customer data? So what do you tell them next?
Exactly. Well, that's the interesting thing, that they are our customers are quite invested in our brand. So when we do new things, like when we do limited series or whatever it might, we are just in the beginning of sort of expanding our product portfolio, but they then we have their sort of contact details, and we can address all these customers saying, hey, now we have this limited series, and all of a sudden we are selling that out in 3 days on sort of customers that we have sold to previously. That's one part. So actually the average returning customer rate that we have is 8%, which is quite good on this sort of product, given that you buy this once in a lifetime. That's maybe the sort of mindset that you would have. So they are eager to buy more umbrellas. Of course, if we were not, if we wouldn't possess this customer data, then we would not be able to sort of address them. That's one thing. But one other thing is that we build, target groups on social media platforms, on ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and so forth. So people similar to the customers, like look-alike target groups that you can create on Facebook and Instagram and so forth. And if you don't have the customer data, then you can't buy the lookalike groups. And the lookalike groups, they have a very high conversion rate because they are quite similar to the customers. So,
but that's only true for in your growth phase. Though from a certain point in time, there's you've reached enough customers, or this kind of source of customers going to be dried out because of the auction principle, because other people would bid for the same target group with similar keywords. For me, from an outside perspective, this would lead either in the direction of, okay, if this is the case, then it's going to be a wholesale business in the future, because they solve the traffic problem by getting brands like yours into their assortment and then selling them an umbrella in the winter and bathing suit in the summer, so to say. Or you go the other vector, creating more product groups under the Carl Dagg umbrella, so to say, which are which do fulfill a similar niche, because there's lots of stuff without a brand still, accessories, maybe even fashion accessories, where brands can still be created. Is there a direction you could think about?
Yeah, definitely. So we will expand the product portfolio. Just look at right now we have only full-size umbrellas. You just think about the folded umbrellas that you can fit in a bag or in a handbag. That's a huge product segment as well. So we are onto that. But given sort of the time and efforts that we are putting into our product, it takes a lot of time, because everything right now, if you want to buy components, is out of the box from China. It's plastic and it's horrible. And we have to build everything ourselves, and it takes time. That's one very interesting sort of evolution of the product portfolio, evolution route.
Compact umbrellas.
Exactly. But then, it will not stop there, because there are so much to do in just take rain fashion, if you take that as a product segment. So we will have a lot of things to do there. But we think that even though this product is so old, the market is extremely immature, because there are not that many alternatives for the customer to buy these sort of things that we are selling. So and coming back also to the mindset issue that people say, why should I, it's like a lot of things are changing now with like Greta Thunberg, whatever. All these sort of people are starting to reflect upon things like, how can I buy 20 umbrellas? Is that, is that reasonable? Is that sustainable? And also, that's one thing.
It was bee merchandise.
It is not.
In
they had been produced before.
And I just understand. I'm very rude. It's your podcast, and I'm throwing this at you.
No.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Like 20 years later.
Cut that out.
Yeah.
No.
I would be willing to pay €1.50 per umbrella.
No, but we also think, and this is, might sound a bit strange now, but we really, really believe that the trend going forward is that people will buy fewer things with higher quality. We think that's the sort of, if we see a mega trend, that will be one of them.
Slow fashion,
exactly. So the opposite of throwaway society. And when it comes to fashion in particular, it will be like if it's shirts, jackets, I don't know, whatever it is that you will have sort of a quite slim assortment of things that will last for quite a long time. And what we really hope then is that, well, you still need an umbrella, and then you will have one umbrella. And if you will have one umbrella, will you have then the one with the real estate broker? No, you won't, because it will break in 1 month, and then you will need something with higher quality, and then we will be quite well positioned. So I think that all the companies now that are really thinking about quality and really assuring this, not only talking about it in fancy words, but really putting effort into producing things the right way, the way they should, products should be built. They will have a really nice time ahead of them when people start, really questioning this fast fashion, like mania that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question left on the marketplace side, because I understand it from a retail perspective that in wholesale you don't have so much markup potential. So otherwise you would lose money if you sell the umbrella for like €30 to Karstadt Kaufhof. But you could sell on their marketplaces. So even Karstadt Kaufhof is opening an online marketplace, or Zalando is doing an online marketplace, or the Otto Group, or even Amazon. And then you only have to pay like the marketplace premium that could be something between like 10 to 20%, which is more or less sustainable compared to your customer acquisition costs on your own website. Is that something you've played around with?
Absolutely. So we actually are doing this now. We have, for instance, Carl, which is a big online retailer in Sweden, one of the biggest ones on I think at least male fashion in Scandinavia. They are selling our umbrellas, and they have it, quite highly profiled as well. So as one of their profile products. So and we have also been working with some other players as well. So that's maybe one route to go as well, because then you will still have the problem with not sort of owning the customer data and the customer relationship, but you have far better margins, which makes it still interesting. So, but looking at so now we have Carl as an example, and that's going quite well. They've sold quite high volumes, so we're pleased with that. So that's definitely one route as well. But it's not as good as selling it yourself, but it's better than the traditional physical retailers in a bigger scale.
A question there. So Carl is a men's fashion retailer primarily. Yes. Do you have a part of your target group that's females? I imagine it's mostly because it's not compact umbrellas. It's mostly men. Yeah.
So this is really one of our biggest failures from the start. We thought that Carl Dagg would have nothing to do with gender, but we did one big mistake, and that was we were all men. So we said, hey, this is this has no gender to it. It doesn't matter if you're a male or a female, but it actually turned out that it do matters, and it's partly because it's quite big. So it's
the umbrella itself.
The umbrella. So it's interpreted as a bit more malish for some reason. So you can't fold it. But then it also has to do with the colors and with a lot of other things that we thought that people would not care in terms of whether they're males or females. But so 85 to 90% of all our customers are males. But we're trying to change this. So we have like a series with yellow, pink and white and so forth. But there are also mostly males buying those as well. But there are females, and all our female customers are very pleased. But we think that the foldable umbrella will really change this.
Speak more to a female audience.
Definitely, because it comes with, in terms of size, it fits in a bag, and you can carry it around easily. And
I was actually just checking your Instagram,
Yeah.
and I saw that you get tagged quite a bit by people posting basically photos of themselves with your umbrellas. Is that a big part of the marketing strategy, influencers and social?
It's a small part, because Daniel Wellington ruined it. They were the first ones to do it, and then everyone else tried to do it, and now it's impossible to get relevant profiles for a decent cost, at least. Our experience on Instagram is that all of these influencers are more or less fake. I mean, they are helping each other out, commenting each other's, liking each other's sort of images, but it's really not driving traffic, and it's definitely not converting. But these, so we are not. So the answer is no, not really. So these people are actually these are happy customers posting these things. We're not telling them to do that. So they're doing it, and it's happening in a quite fast pace. Like you say, if you Google us as well in different forums on different platforms, Instagram and so forth, more and more pictures of people with our umbrellas. So that's fantastic. And that is really, really good marketing. And it's also something that is leading to an increased level of conversion or conversion rate.
So your customers are quite engaged?
Very engaged, yes.
Can you give us a rough ballpark where you're standing today, like in sold umbrellas, if you're revealing those numbers?
Yeah, so I mean, we are first of all, our growth. When we started out, we naturally started out with very low volumes. I think we the first 2 or 3 days we sold 20. We're yes, and then we sold 0 in 1 month. So and then we thought, okay, so these were the 20 customers that were waiting for this product. But then since then the revenue sort of curve has been linear, but still, heading north. And we have sold
30.
Sorry?
So it's 30 now.
Yeah, exactly. So that was 5. No, but it's approximately 3,000 umbrellas that we have sold, and we have a growth rate of 80 to 90% per month now, so we are growing really, really fast. So if we will look at these 3,000 umbrellas, most of them has been sold the last 6 months.
What do you think about your target market size? Let's say for Nordic countries and the DACH markets, Benelux market. So if I would do a rough estimation, there's probably a 6-figure number. So in the some 100,000s. I don't know. I don't know if there's millions of potential customers, so that's kind of would destroy the brand a little bit. But there's some 100,000 customers in the most closer market that should be doable, right?
Yes, definitely. So coming back to we think that so roughly 1 to 2% of all umbrellas sold are premium umbrellas, and given that there are not that many alternatives, we really think that we can take a big part of that chunk, and it's between $7 to $12 million, depending on where you if it's 1 or 2%. So that's the sort of that's the market in Western Europe and the US. But if people were to change their mindset on the coming back to the umbrella, what an umbrella is and what it's what's a reasonable price tag for an umbrella, then we're talking 10 times or 20 times this market. I'm certain. So so the trend is with us as well. So I think more and more people will become more aware, will be thinking a bit more in sustainable thoughts and being more interested in quality, and then we will be very well positioned. So for us, I mean, we have a huge market to grow into, so that's not a problem for us.
So assuming the category grows as well, basically being more of an interest in high quality umbrellas and this becoming more of an accessory. Have you seen any competition coming up so far since you've started?
Yes, so we've seen, and that's because we talked about this when we were heading here. Is it something that we are particularly satisfied with. And we always focus on things that you're not satisfied with and challenges and things you want to change. But we've had a few small startups that have sort of ripped us or just taken our sort of the concept, design and model, more or less business model, and just done a copy paste. So we have 2 or 3 other sort of Nordic players now, but they are, given that we are a small player, I can just imagine how small they are, but they are sort of trying to do this, but with a different angle. So we have someone selling umbrellas, but they're selling it without boxes because it's unnecessary, and that's there. But we're the first manufacturer ever to have boxes. So of course they are, they're trying to find their angle. But in terms of bigger players, we're still waiting because I think this will come and then the competition will get serious. But we need that as well, to get to the market to, exactly. So we would be happy if you, I don't know, Louis Vuitton, I'm coming back to that, or whatever, those sort of brands, if they were really started to get into this market, it would be good for us.
But you said there's only one factory left in Northern Europe. Where do let the competition then let produce?
Yeah, so they buy everything from China as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so bad umbrellas.
Yes. Yes, yeah, but definitely, but also a bit cheaper than Carl Dagg. So they have tried to place themselves in this more sort of mid semi premium segment.
Okay. Is there something big happening in 2020? What you're looking for? Lots of a rainy summer is probably
exactly. We're hoping for a lot of rain. Yeah. No, but we're talking about raising capital. Because that's one thing that we have learned throughout the years. We have actually had some other companies as well together with this group I mentioned earlier, is that it's really easy to underestimate the value of money, even if you've been working in finance as I have for almost my entire career. It is about sort of financing growth. It takes it takes a lot of capital, and if you have to finance it by revenue from sales, then it grows a bit slow. So that could be one thing that we're looking into, because we want to accelerate a lot of things like marketing. Naturally, we also want to sort of enhance the production process and how we produce our umbrellas. We definitely want to expand the product portfolio. We also want to invest a lot of money really in sort of concept development and brand development. So there are a lot of things to, throw money at that you cannot get the money back instantly. But right now we are quite dependent on everyday, sales. So we can only more or less invest in things that generate sales right away. So that's one big thing that I hope will take place in 2020, that we will actually raise some capital. And yeah, so the product portfolio I just mentioned, I hope that we will get some new big retailers, hopefully in the US. That's at least what we're aiming for. And, keep on growing basically.
Cool. Do you seek new employees?
Yes, but we seek, definitely. But I think that goes hand in hand with the capital raise as well. But we will definitely need a lot of talented people. That will be it will be extremely vital. And what sort of people? Then it has to do with people that knows a lot about online sales and ads and that sort of thing. That we really need some more smart brains to help us out. But once again, coming back to it's a matter of capital.
So I will definitely buy one now. You've been,
really? I will give you a good discount.
Lina introduced me to you as a guest today. It was kind of spontaneous, so I had only today the chance to read about. But it's a really cool story. So maybe I can make up a little bit my 20s cheap umbrellas with this thing. I think all have gone so far, so there's nobody left. It was blue umbrellas, and I don't remember seeing any blue umbrella within the last 2 years in my household or garage or stable. It's pretty cool. I can buy one, definitely.
The timing is excellent. Great.
Yeah, thanks a lot for being on the show, telling your stories. It's definitely be worthwhile to follow the story. So we are really looking into, and maybe you will widen up the umbrella brand, going into other rainy products. There's definitely a lot of stuff where a brand would be needed, and I go with your argument that the better the brand is, and maybe the more expensive products, the better are people in protecting those products and reusing them. That's definitely something which is popular right now. It's really cool, and I will link to the website so people can have a look into the umbrella assortment.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed the Carl Dagg story, and some of you probably already looked up the online store of Carl Dagg, and we've managed to organize a voucher for you. We have like a 15% coupon for you. We will put the voucher in the show notes, but it's Le Wimlex 15 for 50%. We will copy it in the show notes, so please only buy your umbrella from Carl Dagg, and see you next week.